अंबानी जी की वेडिंग तो सबने देखी होंगी। चलिए देखते हैं इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स इन ऑर्थोपेडिक्स। द लिंक ऑफ द PDF इज शेयर्ड इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन। द वीडियो comprises of screws, pins, nails, plates, prosthesis, external fixator instruments and some journal instruments. Starting with the screws. Screws are of basic 4 types. First one is cortical or cancellous screw. As we can see in the image, the word cancellous tells something it is cancelling, which means it is cutting. So it is more sharp, has more depth and high pitch. Pitch is the distance between two rounds or the two grooves, whereas the cortical screw can be seen has low pitch, less depth and less sharpness. Next type of screw is either simple or locking. Simple one has no serrations on the head. Locking one has serrations on head which helps it locks in the plate. Next, partial or complete screw. Partial screw has partial serrations and complete one has complete serrations. Fourth and the last type is solid or cannulated screw. Solid has no opening inside. Cannulated has opening for guide wire. Pins. First pin is the guide wire. It is the slimmest one and is pointed. You can appreciate in the image. Use of the guide wire is to putting the cannula screw. Next is the K wire. Identification features. Both ends are pointed. Shaft is smooth. Uses of K wire in internal fixation of long bones, giving traction, fixing fractures in children and Elizarov's fixing system. K wire can be appreciated in the image. Next is the Steinman's pin. It is similar to the K wire, but it is pointed only at one end and other end is blunt. It is similar shaft and non-serrated smooth one. Uses of Steinman's pin in skeletal traction, reduction aid in some fractures like calcaneum fracture as a part of pin and plaster technique. A similar pin is the Dunham's pin. Identification, it is also pointed at one end and tapered at another. Shaft is serrated. Serrated shaft can be appreciated. Uses of the Dunham's pin is in skeletal traction in osteoporotic bones or cancellous bones. A similar pin is the Schan's pin. Mind, do not confuse it with the Steinman's pin. It is also pointed at one end and tapered at another, but the pointed end has serrations. Serrations are not present in the Steinman's pin. Steinman's pin is used for external fixation. Now starting with the nails. First nail is the V nail. V nail can be appreciated in the image. Uses of V nail in invasive procedures where these are used for small stature. Used in pretrochanteric fractures and intertrochanteric fractures for internal fixation. Next is the tibial nail. Identification, straight with a tilt. It is smooth overall. The tibial nail can be appreciated in the picture. It shows a slight curve or a bend. This bend is called as the Herzog angle, which is 11 degrees. It is smooth. It has 2 holes on the top and 2 holes for the bottom. Use of the tibial nail is intermedullary fixation of tibia. Another similar nail is the femur nail. It is also smooth, has 2 holes up and bottom, but it is bent in the middle, resembling the normal femur. Use of the femur nail is intermedullary fixation of femur. A point to keep in mind, never call screws nail. Screws are the small ones. Nails are long. Starting with the plates. Plates can be simple or locking. Simple are mostly used in young patients and locking are used in old osteoporotic bones. First is the simple DC, that is dynamic compression plate. Features, it is broad, there are no curves and it can give up to 1 mm of compression. The holes can be of 2 types. 3.5 mm size used in radius and ulna fractures. 4.5 mm in femur fracture. The use of the DC plate simple one is ORIF, that is open reduction internal fixation. It has a disadvantage that it can cause injury to the periosteum because of more contact and broad surface. Modification to the DC plate is the low contact DC plate. It has locking holes for better fixation. It has gaps to avoid injury to the periosteum. You can see the gaps in the image. This is the locking DC plate. Next is the dynamic hip screw plate. It has two parts. One is the shaft and the round one is the barrel. Barrel is hollow. The angle between the shaft and the barrel is around 135 to 145 degree, which resembles the angle of the head of the femur and shaft of the femur. The principle of this screw plate is controlled collapse of the fracture site. Uses is neck of femur fracture. It is used with Richard screw. Richard screw is to be put inside the barrel and then used as a replacement and then used in neck of femur fracture. This is the distal femur locking plate used in fracture of femur. This is dynamic condylar plate. It is very similar to the hip compression plate. Next, prosthesis. Prosthesis are the entire replacement. Most probable is the neck of the femur prosthesis. The prostheses are of two types, that is monopolar and bipolar. Monopolar includes Austin Moore and Thompson. Monopolar usually means there is only one movement. That movement is also possible between the head of the femur replacement and the acetabulum. Bipolar prosthesis has two movements, one between the head of the femur and acetabulum and other below the head of the femur. First is the Austin Moore hip prosthesis. Identification: holes are present in the stem, indicated for degenerated femoral head replacement, that is hemiarthroplasty. If head of the femur is damaged, it can be replaced with the Austin Moore prosthesis. It is designed similar to the anatomical shape of the femoral head. The fenestrated stems allows the growth for improved fixation. The next, very similar, is the Thompson hip prosthesis. Identification: no holes in the stem, which can be appreciated in the figure. Next is the bipolar prosthesis. It has two movement sites. One will be at the head of the femur and other at the neck of the femur. It also has two holes. It has two sides of movement, most commonly used in complete hip replacement. It is more strong and better efficient. Next is the external fixators. First is the connecting rod. It is similar and can be confused with the nails, but it is just cylindrical, no holes, and used for external fixators in connecting pins and screws. Next is the clamps. Clamps are used to join the pins and rods. The clamps are of two types: rod to rod, which joins a rod with another rod, and pin to rod clamps, which join one rod to another pin. Small hole is for the pin and big holes for the rod. You can see the image how clamps and rod are coupled together for external fixation. Next is the very common and easily identifiable Irizarov's ring. This is the most stable external fixator. Principle is distraction osteogenesis, the rate of which is 1 mm per day. This is how a Irizarov's ring external fixator looks like. There are some general instruments. First is the drill bit, which is used in front of a drilling machine to drill in the bone to put any external fixators or pins or clamps. Second instrument is the tap. It is used to drain pus or fluid from a bone. Next is the bone chisel, which is used to break or clear the bone. Next is splints. This is very common, Thomas splint. It is used for shaft of femur fracture. It immobilizes the fracture site. A very common instrument can be seen in the wards, which is the Bowler-Brown splint. It is used in the femur fracture. It also prevents foot drop and provides traction. You can see in the image there are 3 pulleys on this Bowler-Brown splint. The PDF of the entire instruments is in the description box. Thank you so much. If you love this video, please like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel 5 Minute Medico.